Hi, and welcome back to Hey, have you read this book? This episode is about the book, The Girl with Seven Names, written by Hyeonseo Lee. This incredible true story is about defecting from North Korea and the struggles of adapting to a new country and a life on the run. Hyeonseo grew up in Hyesan, which is situated close to the Yalu River, the border between North Korea and China. There was a thriving trade where all kinds of illegal foreign goods entered North Korea from across the river. This trade could take place because everyone who was meant to keep the border secure, from high officials to the border guards, wanted a share of the profits. Hyeonseo's younger brother would sometimes walk across the shallow river to China to play with Chinese children. Because of this trade, the people from Hyesan were able to live better lives than the people from other parts of the country. Hyeonseo's father was in the military and her mother was an entrepreneur. In 1984, the family moved to Anju, near the west coast, because Hyeonseo's father received a promotion and had to be relocated. Like every other house in North Korea, in the house of Hyeonseo's family, there were portraits of the great leader, Kim Il-sung, and his son, the dear leader, Kim Jong-il. Officials wearing white gloves would enter each house to inspect the portraits, and if they weren't clean, the family would be punished. Hyeonseo's parents avoided being sociable because the more people they knew, the more likely they would be criticized or denounced, as they never knew who could be an informer. Hyeonseo's mother was badly affected by watching a woman being hung to death in a public square, so she was glad when the family relocated to Hamhung, the country's second largest city. In 1990, the family returned to Hyesan, where the illicit trade with China seemed to have grown, as everything such as food, Western brand clothing, Japanese electronics, cosmetics and music were available, if they could be paid for. The markets would sometimes be ordered to be closed by officials, but because the government was failing to provide people with enough essentials, the markets would open again after a few days. After the death of Kim Il-sung, the government stopped paying salaries, factories stopped working, teachers stopped going to school, and many people died from starvation. Hyeonseo found out later that the famine was due to the collapse of the Soviet Union, which had stopped subsidizing North Korea with fuel and food. Order was breaking down. Soldiers and police became thieves, and no one checked for travel permits to catch a train. When Hyeonseo traveled to Hamhung, she saw a radical change. People were falling dead on the streets, yet there were black markets everywhere selling food. But when Hyeonseo travelled to Pyongyang to visit her uncle and aunt, everything seemed normal. There was no one dying or begging for food. Normal family life collapsed when Hyeonseo's father was accused of bribery and was sent to a prison camp. As a result, he had to spend weeks in hospital, suffering from severe depression, and he became seriously ill. When Hyeonseo was 17 years old, she did something that would change her life forever. Without telling her mother, she walked across the frozen Yalu River because she was curious to see what it was like in China. She walked to the house of Mr. An, Hyeonseo's mother's business partner. Mr. An took Hyeonseo to Shenyang, the capital of Liaoning province, to see her uncle and aunt, who gave Hyeonseo a Chinese name. Hyeonseo spent the next few months learning Mandarin. She knew she could not go back to North Korea, as this would mean putting her family in danger. While she stayed with her uncle and aunt, she was pressured into a marriage she didn't want, so she escaped and had to make a life for herself in China. At first she worked as a waitress, then she became a girl on the run. Whenever she thought that she might be arrested for being illegally in China, she moved and gave herself a new name. As her Chinese became better, Hyeonseo moved to Shanghai and she worked as an interpreter. Trying to get to see her family again became an expensive and harrowing experience. Hyeonseo tried to convince her mother and brother to defect from North Korea and join her to travel to South Korea. This journey, travelling through China and Laos, proved to be dangerous and costly. In Laos, Hyeonseo's mother and brother were arrested and put into prison. It was only the help they received from a stranger that enabled them to continue their journey. Read this unforgettable and wrenching story to find out how Hyeonseo and her family struggled to unlearn all the propaganda they learned in North Korea and adjust to their new life in South Korea. Thanks for watching.